Hey, everybody. I'm just starting because we probably have like 5 minutes of actual time to record this. Welcome to the Nutty Nook Book Club again. It's just taken us a while to schedule this one. I think we've had this finished for weeks though, right?
Yeah, I've had to
Like
refresh myself on it.
I didn't, so I'm hoping you
Mhm.
guys will. So we're talking about Gwen and Art are not in love this week, this 2 months. And I'm gonna let Bloomerl do her thing if she wants to give us a recap because I don't remember what this book was about.
Okay. So I have not refreshed myself, but I will do the quick Goodreads version for you guys.
Oh, that works.
So this is, according to Goodreads, a Heartstopper meets A Knight's Tale in this queer medieval rom-com young adult debut about love, friendship, and being brave enough to change the course of history. Now, me personally, I have not read Heartstopper, but I did like the movie A Knight's Tale, and I will agree that it was a little Knight's Tale-ish. But I don't know, because I don't know Heartstopper, I don't know if it like meets that meeting point. So this book takes place after King Arthur began his reign, and his lineage is still kind of like in power. And isn't the brother's name Arthur?
So I don't think they are in power because the cultists are the ones that want to retake power, the ones that are based on
But
his lineage, right?
So, Art is Arthur,
But not
yes,
King Arthur. He's like a
but not King
descendant
Arthur.
of
Yeah,
no.
Arthur,
no.
But
right?
Gwendoline is in power. Like her dad is the
Yes.
king.
Yep.
Yes,
And
right.
Arthur is betrothed to Gwendoline.
Since
Mhm.
they were little, since they were
Yes.
very, very little, it's like an
Yes.
arranged marriage type thing.
Yeah. And they are in Camelot. However, according to both of them, once they kind of like leave the castle, Camelot has really like gone downhill. And so Camelot is not the prize that it was during the original King Arthur's time.
Right. So just
And
go ahead, sorry.
go ahead.
I was gonna
No,
say,
go
just
ahead.
jumping into the queer part, let's just get it straight. Gwen and Art are
Not straight.
not straight, not in love, and while they're betrothed to each other, neither one of them are straight. So they both have varying degrees of openness about this. Art
Yeah.
doesn't make it known, but definitely indulges himself with his not straightness. Whereas Gwendoline you kind of find that out through the course of this book. I think you learn it with her, actually. Like she doesn't seem to really be aware of it at the beginning of the book. Sir Nami, since you actually did refresh your memory, do you have anything you'd like to add in? Because, like I said, I finished this almost a month ago, probably.
Yeah.
So we just had scheduling and she used to record this.
Yeah. I didn't do a deep I kinda just looked at my Goodreads too. But yeah, basically, so Arthur or Art is how he goes by in the book, kind of isn't shy about his queerness, but he's not, like, advertising it either. Like, Gwen just kinda has a fixation on a certain woman that she doesn't necessarily identify as being romantic until probably about a
Later in the
third of
book.
the way through the book, yeah.
And I would say that the girl or the woman that she identifies as being in love with reminds me more of Mulan than
Mhm.
really anybody from like anything else. Like
Yeah.
Yes,
she's
she does
like,
have a Mulan vibe to me.
yeah, she's like, I don't
Mhm.
really care
Yeah.
about like other people's perceptions of me. Like I wanted to do
Mhm.
this since I was young. I'm going to do this. And I can say that like I really respected her, even if like she wasn't necessarily my favorite character. Does that make sense?
Also, as background, the woman that she has this fixation for is the only female knight competing in this sort of like tournament for the king.
Right. Yeah.
And she's seen her compete for a few years, and this is like the big tournament that she's in. And like she has dreams about her, she like thinks about her, and then I think in one of the dreams, like she dreams of her kissing her, and that's when she's like, "Oh,
Mm.
that's what this is."
And it's a big point of contention for oh God, what was her name? What's the knight's name? See, it's been too long.
Bridget
Bridget.
Bridget
That is
Leclair.
Bridget Leclair. How did I forget
Bridget
that?
Leclair.
The that's a big point of contention with a lot of people in the book that she is a knight. Because
Mhm.
as that's viewed in this time period, it's a man's job. And I mean, she has a lot of difficulties in that, right? In the
Mhm.
competition. But she does very well in the competition. She's spoiler, she doesn't win, which I know is realistic or whatever, because like just because it's
I
the main
thought she
character
would
doesn't
do
mean they win.
better
She
than
doesn't
she
she
did.
gets yeah, that's what
She
I'm
doesn't
saying.
do very well at all.
I
Like, she
know.
does well enough, but, like, I mean, I think she loses her first fight, her first joust or something.
But she loses because the guy cheated and she won't say anything.
That's true, that's true. But she
Right?
got, like I mean, she didn't just lose, he, like, really beat the shit out of her.
Yeah.
But in the end of the book, she wins because, like, the goal of the tournament was to attempt to get Excalibur. And at this point, I think they said it was Excalibur 9.
9, yeah.
That you had to, like, pull out of this chamber. I mean, it looks like a
Mhm.
rock, but it's not. No,
Yeah.
it's not a rock.
So they have like
Anyway,
this fake Excalibur, but they've remade it like 8 or 9 times.
yes.
And
And
the
she
only
does
people
pull it out.
she does. But the only people that
So,
know about that are the royal family, because there's a scene where Gwen
Mhm.
tells Art, and he's like, "Excalibur 9!" And I think he repeats that like 4 or 5 times throughout the book. I just thought that was pretty
Also,
funny.
so did you all read it or did you listen to it?
I did an audiobook,
yeah, I did
Okay.
audio.
So
and half of that audiobook was great.
I started the audiobook and I hated it. I hated Art's voice
Yeah.
so much. I literally
Yeah.
bought the book. Like, I was like, I'd paid for it on Audible, I think. And I was like, I have to buy a physical copy. I literally cannot listen to this man.
So, yeah, I had a similar I thought Gwen did great, honestly. I thought
Yeah, no, I
she was
liked the
great.
Gwen.
But it's just the way the guy that was reading Art read it. He would stop a
He was like a
sentence
caricature of himself.
almost, yeah, and he would stop a sentence too short and then, like, finish off the last 2 words like it was a question that he forgot or I mean, it was weird.
Yeah.
He had a weird cadence. You didn't like it
It
either,
was
did you,
very
Blue?
I did not, but at the same time, I didn't like Art, so I felt like it kind of like
Mm-mm.
went along pretty well. You
Yeah.
know, like the character itself was kind of annoying to me, so then
Yeah.
she found like an annoying reader, so I was kind of okay with it.
Mhm.
But I'm not gonna lie, a lot of the times that Art was talking, my brain was somewhere else.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It's
which is
like
No,
half
you're
the
I
not.
book.
I think that has like that's a good point because I didn't really like Art either. But
Mhm.
like I couldn't to get through the book, I had to sacrifice one of them because it was not only did I not like him, but he was reading himself like he was a cartoon character. And
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
yeah. And it
And
was so like an over exaggeration of like the time period and just like I mean, I
here
I literally couldn't stand it, and I've listened to a lot of audiobooks that are questionable,
here's the
but
thing, because it wa again, you're gonna have to help me with the names. One of the best characters in the book, Art's friend, is
oh, shoot,
yeah, well, he's
His
like one of
servant, Sydney.
Sydney,
Sydney.
yeah,
When
Yeah,
the narrator was voicing Sydney, I thought he was doing fine.
yeah.
It was just when he was voicing the character of Art, I did not like how
mhm,
he was doing it. And to your point, Art, I think especially in the beginning, is a very unlikable character. Like, it is really
mhm,
hard, and it took a long time for me to even come around to him, right?
mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
it almost took him being beaten to death, right? Towards the end of the
Yeah, that's when
book.
he became bearable when he was unconscious for 50
Well,
pages.
yeah, and that's when she read most of the book. But yeah, towards the end of the book, he gets attacked and he's in like this coma for a while.
Mhm,
And then when he comes back, he's kind of not as much of a jerk. But yeah, I don't know. I wasn't nearly as sympathetic towards him as I think the author wanted me to be, even until towards
well
the end of the book.
I've thought about this, and I think honestly it's our age, because I was trying to think back if I'd read this in high school. I think I would have really, really liked it. And I think I would have liked Art more because he was the more like comic relief character. Like
Sure.
I think at the age group that this book is meant for, they might find it charming, and less so than just like irritating. So, because I was
Maybe.
trying to think about it after I finished, I was like, I didn't really care for this book that much. But then, like, I was thinking about books that I read in high school and even like middle school, and I think like 13-year-old me would have really liked this book.
I didn't dislike the book so much, but yeah, the characterization of one or two of the like Gwen, I had no problem with. I liked Gwen.
Yeah.
But Art, it's just I found him a little annoying. I found him um way too cocky. Like way too over the top, obnoxiously cocky about everything.
I also just
And
found the comic relief to be too much. Like, he can't say a sentence that's just like, none of his dialogue paragraphs are just like normal talking. He has to throw in like a quib or a punchline somewhere in there, and
every
it's just
time.
like every time he speaks.
Yeah, and that doesn't go away. I mean, even towards the end of the book, he'll still do that, even though he gets a little
Yeah.
bit better at it. But you know what? I hadn't really put that together, but I think that might be it too. He didn't really. Well, Gwen calls him out on never taking anything seriously. I mean, she does at one point, but yeah, I think you're on the kind of hit the nail on the head. Why I kind of had a problem with his characterization. Now, Sydney, though, let's talk about Sydney for a minute because
I do like
he was one of my favorites. And I'm gonna need a name again. What? I'm bad with names. The girl's name, the handmaiden that he starts fooling around with. What was her name?
I want to say Martha, but I don't think that's right.
I don't think that's it.
I'm trying to think. You froze for a second, and I was like, I don't know if you asked anything, and then I was like, oh, you did ask something.
I did.
I'm gonna keep talking, and I'll figure it out.
I thought their little relationship.
Gwen's handmaiden.
Yeah.
That he fell in love with.
And they were so cute. I was more invested in their relationship than any of the others, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's not, I know that sounds bad because it's like the one straight relationship, but they were just so cute. Like they were just so adorable because they kept sneaking around and she was really embarrassed. I thought her name was like Agatha or something. It wasn't like.
It's something very like of the times.
So I wanted to say Agatha too, but then I was like, no, because I would have made the connection to like the Agatha stuff that's like floating around with like the witch or like Agatha Christie and like, which is why I wanted to say like Martha or something.
Agnes.
But Agnes, that's what it was.
That was it. Yep.
So I really just like Agnes as a character. Because like she just kept popping up at the most random places throughout the book in scenarios that you wouldn't have expected her to be in. Like for example, like at the witch place. And so like I think that or at the witch ceremony or whatever it was, like I think that's why I liked her story a little bit better with Sydney than I did like Gwen's story with like Bridget or Art's story with Gwen's brother, just because like it seemed like there was more character interest there.
Yeah.
The author did a really good job of making them more well-rounded, where like literally at one point Gwen was sitting in her room just reading a book for like 15 pages and she was like, like, yes, like I could see how this would be boring.
So yeah, just a little
like
so yeah, a little just context for that. There's so like we said before, there's like the royal power and they just kind of run Europe or England. And then there's like this group of cultists that still celebrate the old Arthurian legends, and they have like their own little movement in the background that comes to a head towards the end of the book as they try to take the throne. But part of this is, the worshiping, or not worshiping, but the reverence of the witch Morgana. So there's a scene where they go to this underground like party. Was it for like her birthday or something? They celebrate on her birthday. and they get invited out, and Agnes is like really into it, and they all kind of make their way there. It was a really good scene. It was a really good
Mhm.
scene. I kind of liked. What did they have to? They had to go and confess something. Like that was part of the ritual before they could leave. They had
Yeah.
to write something on a piece of paper. I can't remember if it was a
Mhm.
confession or like a
Something like that, yeah.
secret or something like that. I can't remember.
Yeah, it was
Man, we're
something
really good at
along
what
those
we do here.
lines. I mean, normally we're kind of on it, but this
Yeah.
one, like, scheduling just took a complete
Mhm.
hit.
I've read 8 books since this book, right? I mean, because we
I was gonna say
finished it.
I've read like 4, yeah.
Yeah, they've been because we actually picked this one because it was a queer romance, and we did it for what month was that?
Well,
June.
so
Was it
no,
June?
we picked
Yes,
it for
because
July because
July.
oh yeah.
it was for
Yeah.
July because I think I made a smart ass comment about, well, we should have done a gay book, and then so we were like, well, let's do a gay book, and then we
Oh,
so I
that was
think it was supposed to be for July,
yeah. I
and
think
we are halfway through September.
yeah, yeah. We're consistent. That's what we do here.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we finished it a long time ago. So yeah, I'm a little vague on the details, like the finer points of the
Mhm.
details. But I still wanted to talk about it because we read it.
Well, so I want to go back because I don't think we've talked about him yet. Another character I didn't like very well was Gabriel,
Mm,
who is Gwendolyn's brother, who starts getting a thing with art, like kind of
yeah.
near the beginning of the book, a little bit.
It kind of implies he's always been like distant,
Mhm.
not interested in girls. So it kind of applied that from the beginning. But yeah,
Yeah,
the flirtation starts kind of early, I
yeah,
guess.
and then he follows him into like this aviary, like where he keeps
Mm.
birds, and they kiss, and then Gabriel spirals out of control
Oh yeah.
and like just becomes an absolute heinous, in my opinion. But
I
yeah,
would say a stronger word, but our daughters are in
the
here
little
somewhere.
ones, the little ones there.
Normally we record after she's asleep, so I'm trying to keep it as PG as possible. Um, yes, I hated that too, especially because
Mhm.
after that is when Gwendoline confesses to him. The only person she ever told in this book that she had feelings for Bridget, she tells him, and he goes nuts.
Mhm.
Like he starts yelling at her. He stops after that. He won't talk to her for like 2 weeks or something like
Yeah.
that.
And
And
they're,
it's
like,
like,
close. It's not like they're just brothers, like, they're
yeah,
close, close. So,
eh,
she was like, "I could tell him anything," and he completely, like, obliterated that trust.
and it was because he had all these like guilt feelings for himself, but
Mhm.
totally destroyed my opinion of that character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I did not like him that much, which also I
Mhm.
think made it hard for me to care about him and Art.
Right, which I was like, they deserve each other, I guess, because I didn't really like either one of them. But, like,
Fair.
yeah, their whole moments, I was like, "I don't really care."
Yeah.
The thing that I would say really bothers me with Gabriel, and it was the thing with Art, was Gabriel was so afraid of his own self
Mhm.
Mhm.
that he was just so easy to, like, I will not necessarily, like, attack somebody else, but I will not
Mhm.
support you.
Yeah.
And so,
Mhm.
like, when Gwen told him that, like, she had these feelings, he was like, "Yeah, no, I'm not gonna support you." But in the on the entire other side of the spectrum, Art was like, "I have these feelings, but I have so much trauma, I can't figure out how to deal with it, so I'm just gonna be, like, jackass smartass,
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
oh, I can't be serious at all." And then, like, you put them together and it's just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
I'm glad that they did it, like, I'm glad that they ended up happy, but at the same time, I just didn't like the steps that they took to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It took me
Although
a
I
while to
will
get
have to
invested in them.
say, at the end, I was pretty happy to see Morgana, Gabriel's Raven, just kinda, like, chilling out on the battlefield.
Oh
She
yeah.
was, you know,
I
I
forgot
want to
about
talk about
that.
that a little
just
bit
gonna,
more in
like
just a
I forgot
second.
about that.
The so I guess it's pretty early in the book, or maybe around 25%. They kind of catch each other, right? So Art kind of catches Gwen doing something with Bridget, and she sees him with like a random stable boy or whatever. And it becomes this like pact of mutual destruction. Because not
Mhm.
only you probably guessed from Gwen and Art are not in love that they're not in love, but they hate each other. Like it's not
Mhm.
like they've got this arranged marriage, but they cannot stand one another.
Yeah.
So they have this like pact of mutual destruction that they decide to enter into. And the book kind of they go through just keeping each other's secrets, and eventually they grow to become
Mhm.
friends by the end of the book. Again, it takes him
Yeah.
getting his head beat in. But like they start courting more officially, and he'll come over to her room and then sneak out the window to go do
Mhm.
whatever he wants to do. Of course, then she starts getting a bad reputation, right? Because it's again, what like 17th century Europe, so they're like she's
Right.
alone with a boy all night. Little did they know. But I also like that this whole time you find out later Agnes, the handmaid, knew exactly what was going on and is just like the best secret keeper on the planet.
Yeah.
But there's a really good scene I liked where, because she was convinced Agnes was just gossiping and telling all of her secrets. And
Right.
Agnes is like, I've never told any of your secrets. You don't know me at all. And I thought that was a really important moment for Gwen because she kind of realized that she was a little bit of a spoiled princess type
Yeah.
girl, right?
Right.
I don't know. I just that scene in particular really stuck with me. And then I
Mhm.
think that was why her and Sydney just they were two of my favorite characters because they supported the people they were there for unquestioningly,
Mhm.
and they were more likable.
I think
They were
that's the
just more
thing is
likable.
they were two of the only non-queer characters in the book, and they were the two least homophobic.
Exactly. That's a great
Like-
that's a great point, actually.
Yeah,
They were less homophobic than the homosexuals.
than the homos.
Wow.
Only two though, because
Yeah.
Bridget was
wasn't,
okay.
yeah. Bridget was pretty
Bridget was good.
open. Yeah.
Bridget was open, and Art was open, but then like I guess the power siblings, Gwen and
Mhm.
Mhm.
Gabriel, were like, we cannot have this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh, I wanted to like reach in the book and smack him.
Well, her
Mhm.
mother was part of the problem. Like, her mother was just so much beating in her head about what was and wasn't proper,
Yeah.
and Gwen and her mom had a bunch of, like, tension between the two of them, and I think
Mhm.
she really hurt. I do want to talk about the big battle at the end, though, because I actually really liked this part. Like,
Mhm.
for the most part and this is it's a romance. I don't know if it's a rom-com because it wasn't that funny. But
But
for
it
the
was
most
trying to be, so I would say it's a rom-com for a
it
certain
it
audience.
was trying.
Mhm.
But towards the end of the book, it does ramp up with the action a little bit because the
Mhm.
cultists finally decide to make a play for power, and it's Art's dad, right?
Yeah.
Ends up being like the big traitor, and
And also tries to, frame Art as being a part of it.
Mhm.
So then, like, Gwen
oh
and Gabriel turn.
it definitely works. They
Yeah.
turn and hate him hard.
Mhm.
But it ends up with this like siege of Camelot with the Arthurian cultists and their army like sieging the town. And and at this point, Gwen and Gabriel still think Art betrayed them. And then
Mhm.
I love it because you're getting it from Gwen's perspective. And then there's like a lone rider that rides out in front of the cultist, right? And is he carrying the flag and throws it down or something like that? And
Yeah.
Yeah.
even from Gwen's perspective, you hear her being like, "Who is this idiot?" And then it switches back to Art's perspective, and you realize, "Yep, of course." And then,
Mhm.
of course, after the Lone Rider rides out, another one follows him because Sydney is the best. He will not let Art go down on
Yeah.
his own. But what do you think? I mean, this is one of my favorite parts of the book, but maybe it's just because it had the most action. I don't
No,
know.
it was one of my favorites too. Because it kind of finally felt like it was like a because throughout the book you're like, what's gonna be like the climax? Like, what are we going toward? Because it's very just like rom-commy.
Right.
But for me, when I remember reading it and the scene where the king falls
Hmm.
and the king gets killed, like Gwen and Gabriel's dad falls and gets killed, I was like, oh shit.
Which
I
immediately
didn't think this
elevates.
book had stakes.
I didn't either. Which then immediately elevates Gabriel to king.
Yeah,
and he
immediately.
never wanted to be king. Like,
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
was not his goal.
Mhm.
What did you think, Blue?
So I could see who the traders were like coming because the author did a really good job of being like, okay, you need to pay attention to these minor characters, even though
Yeah.
let's face it, nobody was going to care about like the knife or like the dad, like
Mhm.
people like that. And the only thing that I hated about the build up to the fight was that his dad made the move when he was in the coma.
Oh, yeah,
Like
that was pretty well,
he like
Yeah.
it makes sense because his dad was like
Mhm.
super slimy and super
mhm,
gross. But I hated that he was saying all this stuff and they immediately just took his word. Like
Mhm.
this person is laying here in this coma who supposedly you both somewhat care for on some kind of level.
Mhm.
And
mhm.
you're just going to be like, "Oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense." And you're just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's also, I feel like, along the same lines as any historical like fiction, especially during that like Arthurian time or like those older 13th, 14th centuries where it's like one person says, "Oh no, that's not right," and then everybody jumps on the like, "Oh no"
Yeah.
bandwagon.
Mhm.
Um, but I will say I was so happy with, I guess I would say, the pinnacle of the fight, and
I noticed the same
I'm
thing.
not gonna spoil it because, in case people wanna read this book, like, I want them to look forward to something.
Ugh.
But
I was
the
gonna spoil it because I
one
wanna talk about it.
the one character that I wanted to have, like, her day in the sun got it, and
Mhm.
I was so happy for that, especially
Yeah.
because she got it in the most, like, justifiable way, and it made me so happy.
That was my favorite part of the book, and if we're being
Yes.
vague about it, the let's be vague, shall we? Let's do it, and tease you gotta read it to find out.
I was gonna
Um,
say, I feel like you're being so vague that I'm not even really sure I know what you're talking about.
there's a moment where it is I think if we're talking about the same one, but maybe not. There's a moment to where Camelot is all but lost, especially after the king falls,
Mm,
and there is
yeah.
no hope left until there is. Let's just say that, and that was my
Excalibur
favorite.
9 comes in and just makes it like
So I think we're
that's
talking. Yeah,
that's the justification.
there's so
Excalibur
much
9.
there's so much in that one scene. Actually, it, I like what happens with both of the female characters in this
Yeah. See,
battle.
that's why I got because I was thinking of two different things.
I think we're both talking about both things, to be honest,
Yeah.
because Gwen makes a decision,
Mhm.
a very bold decision that pays off and turns the tide for the entire battle, and that was one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
But when also for Bridget, when she was just like all this and pulls the sword from the stone, 'cause we've already spoiled that. That was
Mhm.
just such a cool moment.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
then, the only thing I didn't really like, and this is a spoiler, but we're talking about the minor character, the knife. He was like, had it out for Bridget, like,
Mhm.
because she was a female knight and he was such a D-bag to her. She wasn't the one that got to kill him, though,
Yeah, I know.
but
I wish she would
Sydney
have been.
did. So that was pretty fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like,
If
that's
it's
not right.
anybody else, we're like, it's okay, it's Sydney.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the only thing. I wish Bridget had been able to do that, but
Mhm. I agree.
man. But yeah, were you talking specifically about, Gwen or Bridget with your moment there, Blue? Because 'Cause they're both
I was
really
talking
great.
about Bridget.
Okay, hers is great. I was talking I really
See,
liked
that's kinda what I thought you were, and then when you started talking, I was like, "Wait a minute, maybe they're talking about Gwen." And then I was like, "I don't know what we're talking about."
Well,
I think
apparently we're talking about two different people.
well, not so much. I liked both. It's just I don't
Yeah.
wanna Gwen's moment was my personal favorite. I
Yeah.
loved that moment with Gwen.
Mhm.
Uh, but Bridget, I think Bridget was just she was your stereotypical knight. I mean, she had
Right.
everything, every quality a knight needs,
Mhm.
and she was your heroic figure in this,
Yeah.
and she was awesome at it. Um,
Mhm.
how'd you all like the resolution for everything? With how everything plays out with the characters and their relationships at the end.
Meh.
Yeah.
Meh. Meh.
Meh.
It's like, yeah, like I'm happy, everyone's happy, but I'm also I think I was at that point just like, okay.
So here, hold on. This is what I'll say to my meh. I am happy that this book did not take a traditional I hate gay people approach at the end. You know, like I'm kind of happy that like in that instance the underdog group won because let's face it, there's a lot that underdogs don't win.
Mm-hmm.
So in that regard, I'm happy. I just don't like how neat everything was.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't like that, like, Arthur and Gabrielle ended up together because, like, if you really sat down and looked at both of them, like, I don't think that would actually happen.
I don't think it would last either.
No, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I wasn't super happy that Bridget stayed with the choice that she made. But I respect her for it. I just wish that Gwen would have kind of grown a little bit more of a spine and been like, okay, I'm gonna like come on the road with you, or you know, like
Agreed.
instead of just being like, I have to stay here and support my brother. Like, your brother's a grown person. Like he doesn't really need your support.
And King now.
Yeah.
Right.
So like, it was an okay happy ending, but not in the happy ending that I think I wanted. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I was a little. I mean, I had a love-hate relationship with it because at one point I like that Bridget said, "Look, this is my dream. I can't give this up just to sit around all day." But I do like they found out a way to make it work. Like they were still together in the end. I did like that, but you know, to your point, I mean, I do wish that Gwen would have been like, I can do more. I don't have to stay here all the time. Like, I could come with you. I could be here. I don't have to just be my brother's sister anymore.
Yeah.
That was the one thing. Like, she has duties, sure, but she could do it. I don't know. She's almost queen. She could do whatever she wants. But it was nice that they were still together and still got to spend most of the year together. So I did like that. And yeah, I mean that was my one thing. We should say that, and this is a spoiler, so skip this if you don't want to hear it, but they kind of end up changing the perception of like gay people in general by research that's been going on throughout the book where they find letters from, is it Arthur to Lancelot?
I think so.
And it turns out they actually were a thing, and most of the other stuff was just like BS that got made to cover it up.
Yeah.
Right? So that was an interesting little side story in the background. But I don't know. I also felt like it kind of distracted from the rest of the narrative because they would talk about it from here and there, but not really too much. And I was just like, all right, and I guess it paid off in the end where they kind of used it to justify, like, look, get over yourselves. But yeah, at first I was just kind of confused. It seemed like just extra information.
Yeah.
So.
No, I get that.
So. Well, let's get to it then. So how do we do this? 1 to 5 acorns overall, right? Were there any scenes? We do our 10 scale rating scenes. I can't.
No. I
can't
mean, Gwen
remember.
massaged Bridget's back when she had period cramps, but
oh, yeah, that was. All right, you're downplaying that a little bit, but yeah, I forgot about that. I thought there was at least one. No,
there was nothing past like kissing.
There was one with art, but it didn't really like go into detail that much.
All right, not applicable.
This is young adult.
Yeah.
So was Fourth Wing, right? And they literally blew out the windows.
Fourth Wing is not young adult.
That's not young adult.
No.
Where's the line?
Not even kind of.
Is it just fiction then? I thought that was young adult.
That's just fantasy. Yeah, there's nothing young adult about that.
No.
Well, I don't know what young adult means then.
We already had this conversation.
I think we did. Anyway, so all right, well let's do our acorns. Who wants to go first? You're
I
not
will.
playing.
Did she say
She
it?
said me.
What a cutie. What a cutie. Yeah, this is a solid. Well, if I had to be like, I would probably say like 2.85, but I'm giving it a 3. That's what I gave it on Goodreads.
Listen, let me just put it this way. Whatever acorn rating we decide to put, I put on the thumbnail, and I can do full acorns or half acorns. I can't do a 0.85 of an acorn.
You could if you really wanted to.
I could, but I don't. So let's keep it in 0.5.
I'll just stick with 3. Let's just
2.85. A 6 or 7. I can't remember what I said.
I think it was a 6.
It was.
It was a 6, you monster.
A 6. It was young adult. That's how I know it's young adult, because it was too tame.
Good God.
All right, Blue, what about you?
Mine, I'm just going to leave as a 3.
Okay.
Like, I think it's good for some.
Mhm.
I don't agree with the popularity spike that it had.
Yeah.
And
because we got this off of TikTok, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I got it I got it off of a book club Discord that I'm in.
Oh.
At the same exact time.
And then I recommended it in the car to Suriname and Wolfkinz, and Suriname was like, "That's not a gay book." And it was like TikTok saying top gay books in 2024.
I didn't hear the "not in love," and I was like, "That doesn't sound very gay."
So you're a hypocrite.
You're going with 3?
I'm going with 3.
I can do 3. I think we're unanimous here. I had this at a 3 too. I liked it. I didn't dislike it. It was fine. Like, I don't regret reading it, but like I wouldn't read it again. I don't think. It was an interesting story. Had its ups and downs. Some of the characters held me back just because some of them I didn't like very much. And specifically, I'd give the audiobook a 2.85.
I think I would give the audiobook a 1.
It wasn't that bad.
It was terrible.
No, it was not that bad. I will give the audiobook like maybe a 2.4.
Yeah, but overall the story still not a 0.5. Again, we're doing them halves. But yeah, I think a 3, a solid 3. I mean, it was a decent read. It was interesting. It had some interesting points. It was very pro-gay. I mean, it was very uplifting. There, like you said, I mean, there were some homophobic characters, but they tended to be the characters that were gay. So, but I thought it really did a good job of just it broached those subjects for the time period in a respectful way. I thought.
For sure.
But yeah, it just had some things that was like, I felt like they could have done better. Mainly just art being less of a
annoying douche canoe.
That's a good way to say
whiny.
That. Yeah. So, well, cool. So yes, this one's a little shorter than normal. We really just wanted to make sure that we got it recorded because, like we said, we finished this back in like August. So eventually we'll get to where we can do these faster. But right now we're just doing it for fun anyway. I'll hold the book up. Blue, do you want to talk about next time's book? I'm not going to say next month's for now. I'm going to say next time's book.
The next read that we're doing is Tomorrow. There might be an and in there. Tomorrow and, I don't know.
Yeah. Tomorrow and. Wait. Tomorrow
there we go.
Yes.
Again, one of those pop culture sensational books. I have finished it. I did the audiobook. That's all I'm going to say about it. It is about game design, more specifically in a friend group, and the successes and failures that they will traverse. And that's my 2 cents on that book.
I've just started it. I'm about 2 hours in. So we're a little behind the times. Here's my only question. So that's next times book, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I would like to try to record that like at the end of this month or beginning of October, just to maybe get us back on track. So let me ask this then, and this is mainly for you, Blue. Is there any level of spooky you'd be willing to tolerate for October?
Yes,
There is a level of spooky, or
there is.
okay, what is it?
It's not that one that I told Suriname about with the ghost and the blood on the walls.
Which one? What one was that?
Which one was that?
Is
It was
that
one of the ones.
by Isabella Canes?
Oh yeah.
Um.
Book.
Anyways,
Hacienda.
I'm just saying.
Yes, La
Oh,
Hacienda.
that one.
No,
Yeah,
I'm not doing
no.
that.
I'm just saying.
I
I
have done
wouldn't.
hidden pictures, and I would say that that's kind of a creepy book.
That's your level of creepy. Okay,
No,
I wouldn't mind
I
doing.
have done that book.
And it was too creepy. Okay,
I have successfully completed that book.
I will say I'm looking forward to tomorrow, but I wouldn't mind doing something kind of creepy or spooky for spooky season. And also,
I'm
I think
on my third horror book since it turned kind of chilly.
oh yeah, I've been doing the same thing, and I think it's
I'm
coming
on
back
my
around to my
third
turn
wiki
to
book.
pick one. So I'll just
Yeah. Pick a spook.
But I'll be cognizant not to pick something I know is going to make you super uncomfortable.
I mean, that's fine. You're obsessed with Alien right now.
It's so good. And the audio, oh God. No, listen, they are good. And the audiobooks have been incredible because of those audio dramas, those audio original dramas. They're fully casted, fully voice acted. They're great. Anyway, I'll pick something. But yes, for next time, it's tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. I'm being called. I'm being paged. I'm going to have to sign off. Thank you two for hanging out. I know it was a little bit of a shorter one, but we'll make some time to talk through tomorrow at more at length. So
maybe tomorrow.
Or tomorrow. And tomorrow. Did that come through?
That's so cute.
Did you hear? Okay. Do you want to say bye? Just say bye.
Of course not. She doesn't.
There we
act
go.
like a man.
Anyway, that'll be it for us. Yeah, anything final you want to say on the way out? All right, I gotta go. Bye. Don't turn the Bluey. I will turn the Bluey game on for you in a minute, okay? Just chill out. We're not playing the Bluey game right now. Why don't you go get your iPad?